What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Today, I have the one and only Ecotech Winter Edition Jay on. How you doing, Jay?
I'm good, Devin. How's it going?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. So I see you have the white hoodie and the snow camo on. So you got a bit of snow in PA.
Yeah, actually, this is the first snow of the season, so kids are very excited about this development. But
Nice.
it'll probably be gone. I think we're supposed to have 50 or 60-degree weather this weekend. 60 degrees, I think.
Oh, that's all right. Easy come, easy come. Go with the snow, eh?
Indeed.
Exact. Nice. So how's the reefing life been for you lately? How's the tank?
Yeah,
How's
well, it's
life?
kind of non-existent. I went in and checked on it. I think it was last week, and I say checked on it because Kelsey's there. Definitely lost a few corals. I'm not sure what happened. I think we had an alkalinity spike at one point.
Hmm.
Um, but on the other hand, we're going to be moving soon, and there's some tank upgrades in my near future. So
Yeah.
what survives
Nice.
will get transported over. What doesn't will get started anew. And yeah, I mean that's very exciting.
Nice. What are you gonna do for the new tank?
Well, Waterbox has this new XR series, which I'm really excited about. So the bigger, the better, and
Nice.
probably an SBS dom, dominant more than a. I've always done mixed reefs, so I'm kind of excited to try to do some more species specific
Hmm.
type tanks. And I think an SPS dominated one would probably be pretty cool, as would a large flowing tank. Lots of
Just one
those.
of each. You need two big ones in the office now. Okay, quick shout
Yeah,
out, Vermont John, $10 super chat for everything you do. Thank you very much.
there you
So,
go. You can buy
I
another
know.
accessory for your one wheeler.
Woohoo! So, on a completely random note, I got a electric skateboard, which is the new hobby, my new entertainment for COVID. Now, we were talking about this. Is you have a turtle tank, which I can tell you have been torture testing and testing out all your ecotech gear and products on and stuff. So why don't we tell us a little bit of what the heck you got going on there? It looks like a pretty sweet little tank.
Yeah, it was funny when we started talking about this, and then I realized there's a whole kind of set of small stories that go along with this. Yeah, so the first thing is this is my tank lately because I'm
Yeah.
stuck at home. PA is on lockdown again. I get to spend time. This is the only aquatic environment I get to play with. So yeah, I was down at Waterbox, I think, for their Blue Friday, and I saw one of these in the office, which was, I don't know if this ever made it to production or not. I don't think it's on their website.
Hmm.
But it's a vivarium style setup with kind of cut glass at the front. You can reach in a little bit of water, and then the
Hmm.
back has this kind of overflow with a hole to run your equipment wiring and whatnot through.
Oh, nice.
Um, and it just so happened this was set around at the office, and then up there over my left shoulder,
Hmm.
uh, my son, when we were up at the lake last year, found this in our front yard, and uh, and he was like, "I have a turtle." I'm like, "You have a? What are you talking about?" Like, sure enough, he found this baby turtle. It was destined for bad things to happen to it. So we brought it home, and on the condition that it will go back to its natural habitat uh, in when it is larger.
Hmm.
And yeah, plopped it in this setup,
Nice.
and then now I'm using this obviously to test Mobius as we keep having new developments, new features, new equipment, and so now it's probably one of the most pimped turtle tanks. Turtle that is not much bigger than a quarter.
That
Um,
it, hands down the most pimped out turtle tank I've ever seen.
yeah, it's got two MP10s, a Radeon, a whole bank of Versas, and probably by next week it'll have a vector return pump running on it as well. So,
So, so what all are you doing with all your verses on it?
um, so I, so right now I have them all doing one thing, which is auto top off. And I think you can see those spray nozzles. So I have a dehumidifier running next to it, so I don't have to go and collect water. The water just gets sucked out of the air, and then from there, one of the verses pumps it into a reservoir, and then another verse pumps it from the reservoir out of the spray nozzles
Wait,
to
wait,
keep the tank topped up.
So you have a dehumidifier to suck the moisture out of the air, and then you have a Versa taking the water from the dehumidifier, putting in a reservoir. And you have another one going from the reservoir to your misters to water the tank. That is awesome. I love it.
Yep, it's but yeah, I mean, it seems to be doing fairly well at the moment. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll
That,
see.
that is so extreme, and I freaking love it. Mervyn Jones, 499 super chat. Enjoy our post. Thank you. Omar just wanted to give a shout out to the Ecotech customer service team. Was awesome. Helped me tremendously this week. Keep it up. Awesome to hear.
Yep,
Always
they're
good.
there and they're busy. They are definitely essential personnel, and
Mm-hmm.
they're in the office providing service. Again, I think we have it everywhere, but I think it's servicing Ecotech Marine. So you need to get in touch with them. There is also live chat. I think text message,
Really?
phone, and email. Yeah, pretty much. And then obviously, I think if you contact us through, you can now contact us through the Reef, and also the app will get to customer service.
So pretty much any way you can think of, you can get a hold of service. I've only used email. I'm gonna have to mix it up next time I have some random question. That's
They're really
awesome.
great guys, so definitely. Actually, you know a bunch of them anyway. But
Yeah, it's true. Greg Carroll, is there any plans for an Ecotech branded alkalinity monitor?
oh, that's a loaded question. Um, there's nothing being worked on at the moment, but nothing's out of the realm of possibility. We
Yeah.
have a lot of new products in the works, as well as a lot of features from Mobius, which some have been promised already. Some of them we're keeping secret, but yeah,
So
it's all coming along.
what are the new public promised ones?
Well, I think the stuff that is most immediately on the horizon is re-enabling Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Um,
That's been widely requested. I see that on a couple lots, so that'll be a good one.
and yeah, I mean, I think the last time we talked or spoke, I mean, it's a complete overhaul of the control platform to best utilize these new technologies. So it's been a lot of work on the back end by the engineering team, and we find always a lot of use case things when you get out there. So it's kind of at that stage now where it's fixing the last remaining kind of bug related stuff, and then also starting to implement some of the features which didn't get in at launch, but we'd like to have got in. And then there's actually a lot of stuff. I mean, the Versa control functionality. If anyone's running a Versa and got the update or gets a Versa
Mhm.
in the near future, we'll see it has a very different. Well, I think you've seen it, right?
Yeah, no, the new interface is nice. I like it. Tells you how much it dosed through the day and has nice little pretty bars and stuff. Like it looks good. It's
And a
pretty
lot of
slick.
that comes from our user community. Of it, people, the R&D team sees everything when you shake the app,
Yeah,
and you write your comments, either desired features or things which need to be addressed.
I've
We
sent in
we
tons.
see it all.
They probably all know my name on there. I'm like, this would be a cool feature. This would be handy. And then some of them have actually been implemented, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean that's where we get it from. The best source of information is the people using the products, obviously, which is the community, which is fantastic. And
Hmm.
people, it always hurts me when I'm on a forum or something and I read this that we don't read this stuff or we don't care. Um, we try to read as much of it as we can, and we certainly read the stuff that gets sent directly to us.
Hmm.
Uh, we don't always see every forum and every Facebook group chat and everything that comes on, but anything that is directly sent to us, we see it, and it's really, we take it very seriously. It's a very personal shoot.
Much love.
We
Uh,
try.
that's awesome. Okay, I've seen this question asked a bunch. It just came up. Is there going to be the ability to add AI lights or AI products into Mobius?
Yeah, so we've mentioned that one as well. That's definitely another promised aspect to Mobius.
Hmm.
And then after that, there's the possibility of other manufacturers coming on with different products as well.
That'd be
Uh,
cool.
what that looks like and how that plays out. We're dealing with the first set of things we've committed to first.
Fair
Once
enough.
that's done, and everything's running smoothly, and all these features that we already have in mind are implemented, you'll start to see that stuff. But AI is on the road, is a firmly embedded on that roadmap. So yeah, definitely AI in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, and then one other question. With the Wi-Fi, is that going to be for all the gear or just certain gear? Like what's all, can I control everything if I'm at home or just certain products or still
I'm
in the works?
speaking of, well, anything that's on the Mobius platform, as long as you have a device which has Wi-Fi capability on, which to my knowledge is, I think, Vortex, Vectras, and Radions, and maybe
Nice.
Versus. I'm not sure, but
Yep.
maybe not Versus, but definitely Radions, of course. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure Vortex and Vectras as well.
Oh, nice.
And then other equipment which is connected to those, I believe, would also show up on the network.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome. That's pretty
but
cool.
I'm talking off. Don't quote me on any of that because
I know
I'm
official
the pretty picture
gossip.
part of the. I help create the pretty pictures and write the commentary. I don't do heavy lifting at all on any of the. I don't do any of the lifting on the software firmware development side.
Yeah, no, though that's awesome. I've seen so many people begging for those features to get it Wi-Fi and get it working so they can tweak it from outside your house. Not that you necessarily should be for like your lighting and pumps. Like you really shouldn't be doing those at your home. Dosing pumps I could see, right? If you got like an elk monitor or something, you're like, oh, my elk's low, let's up it. Like dosing pumps for sure. But you know, make sure you're not going too crazy if you're not actually there to see what's happening.
It's a nice feature to have. I mean, I can tell you from our EcoSmart Live days. I mean, the vast majority of the reef hobbyist community
Mm.
does not adjust their equipment when they're not near their tanks. But
Yep.
there are incidents where it's good to be able to do that. And realistically, I mean, especially if you have something like a controller, then you're getting input down the road. You'll be getting it potentially directly from Mobius devices as well. But then you might want to be able to do things and run routines off site. But then if you
Yep.
have a controller, I would assume you can do that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll controller at the moment. So
Yep.
uh, it's a bit of both. But it was in EcoSmart Live. Obviously, we have every intention and commitment to get it re-enabled in Mobius.
Awesome.
Hardware's all there as well. So
Yep. Awesome. Okay. One other question around that one, because I've seen this one come up a couple times too. Is there a possibility or will there be a possibility to tell a Versa to just dose certain days of the week rather than like a daily thing? Say I only want this to dose on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something like that.
yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. There's a whole bunch of stuff which is, and I mean, I'm not just saying it's possible because it's possible, but it's actually in the kind of development course. For instance, other we have stuff being worked on, particularly for coral spawning facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all of which use our equipment currently, and they need an offset for daylight and light intensity through the course
Yep.
of the year. And
Okay.
I believe that's almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's lighting, not dosing, but obviously it's kind of the same. And then there's other scenarios like with aquarium stores where they may have different schedules on different days of the week.
Yep.
So that's also something which the Mobius system is designed to be able to incorporate over time.
Nice. Perfect. So there's some good hope for all that stuff coming in the future. I mean, it's all software now, right? The hardware is awesome. Someone
Yeah,
was.
it's all in there. It's just that it all has to be put together. That's a big, it's a
Mhm.
big undertaking for us anyway. I mean, we have a lot of smart people, a lot of good engineers, but it is still a lot of work. So
Tons. Someone was asking me today about how low the Versa could dose, and it was down to 0.01 of a milliliters per minute on continuous. So it was like the craziest, slowest movement that you can do, like possible. But it's crazy how tiny of a minuscule you could do to it, and you can still do like a water change with the same pump. I think that's amazing, which is why I have a bunch of them because they're awesome. But that's pretty cool.
yeah, and hopefully we'll be making a lot more of them in the near future. It was not the best time for that product to come out. Everyone's at home with their aquariums, so
Product
um,
launch,
a
pandemic,
lot of
and no one's in the
equipment.
office to make them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that okay? That has come up like 10 times in the chat too. Where can I get them? Everyone's out of stock. I mean, I guess that's just, and I know you're also moving the office and factory, everything. So it's probably crazy times right now. Eh?
Yeah, and the simple answer is a wish right now,
Yep.
but hopefully soon.
Mm-hmm. Macy's daddy, can you use the Versa for auto water change? You sure can. I'm doing that right now. I currently have it doing 10 liters a day, so 2.5 gallons every morning water change. So I've been doing that for months now. So they work quite well. And you
Yeah,
can also use it to
and that
transfer from your dehumidifier to your auto top off to your turtle tank. Many uses.
I found something interesting too. I mean, and I don't, I haven't exactly passed this on yet, but it is the one thing I did discover is that you can actually stall the motor if you put enough back pressure on the pump. So I would like to get some more details from the R&D department about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm using it when I say that, it's basically when I try to run 100 ml a minute through two spray nozzles
Oh, the spray. Spray nozzles. Okay. I was
because
wondering
it's
how you're
a lot
accomplishing
of
that.
back pressure. Like
Yeah.
it will only at some point it will stall the you you drive it hard enough, eventually it will stall. And I thought it was a gear slipping because it makes a noise, but that's actually the noise that the stepper motor makes when a stepper motor stalls. So we all
Huh.
learn something new every day.
Interesting.
But nothing wrong with the pump. Just if you manage to put it to that level of use, they joke about me in the office because like no matter what they give me, I somehow manage to use it or break it in a fashion which
Well,
not many people do.
who would think to put a friggin' spray nozzle on a dosing pump? Like, I appreciate your torture testing. Because I have mine, going up like 14, 15 feet from the bottom floor to the tank above it, no problem. But again, I'm not restricting it to a tiny pinhole, trying to make it rain. That's pretty awesome. Jake's asking, are the Radeon XR30 G4 Pros Mobius compatible? I'm gonna say probably. If you open your light and you look inside, if there's the RF chip on it, if it's green, it's the old style and it's RF only. If it's black, it has the Wi-Fi and everything else, and that version is Mobius compatible.
But if you're running it on EcoSmart Live, or just download the desktop app, just plug it in, and it will tell you. Go to
Hmm.
devices, and it tells you whether it's compatible or not.
Yeah,
So
even
yeah,
easier.
if you're feeling really adventurous and want to open it up, go ahead. But if you want to just plug it in and check, or if you have it on EcoSmart Live, you can just go to the devices tab and check it there.
Yeah,
It will tell you.
perfect. Even easier. I haven't used good old EcoSmart in a while since I've come to the Mobius side. So is there any other cool Mobius stuff on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, we're going full steam ahead at this point with stuff. I don't know actually. Oh, there is now a release notes web page,
Oh, nice.
and that I can probably make available. I think if you go to mobius.app/what's new,
Okay.
and see the release notes on each new edition of Mobius.
Nice. DC Reefer. Mobius is the best thing ever. Nero 3 is the best nano pump ever. It is a wicked pump. I 100% agree with you on that one. I love that little guy. I'm actually thoroughly amazed how much flow it has for how tiny it is. Like, it's pretty darn good. Do you have one in your turtle tank?
I do not, but I'm sure I will at some point. I'll probably have.
You're like, hey, little turtle, welcome to the river tank. Awesome. Nero 3 back in stock. I don't know. I'm assuming stock's probably dicey on a few things with reduced staff and everything for the next little bit.
Sorry, say that one again.
Oh, they're asking if the Nero 3 was back in stock, but
I mean, it is continuously being.
it just batches constantly, right? I know stuff sells out quick. I know when I've looked at stuff, it's there for a day or two, then it's gone. So you kind of got to keep an eye out for stuff. Not really reefing related. The next trend in terms of coral. I don't know. What do you think? Think there's any big trends coming up?
I don't know. I'm excited to get back out there and see it. I mean, mostly it's online, right? At the moment,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult. It's great if you live close to a fish store that you can go visit. Obviously, depending on where you live, travel restrictions and everything else are they're problematic. We have a good store here, but right now we're encouraged not to go anywhere.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think the tanks, the minimalism element seems to go. I've noticed some of the nicer tanks I've been looking at lately are more coral centric. So people are going less and less of structure in the tank and more
Mhm.
coral. Um, larger colonies, I'm starting to see more. I don't know whether that's just because people are growing them out more than they used to. I don't know.
Yep. I appreciate seeing big grown up corals. Yep. Jay, are you a reefer or freshwater? Jay is definitely a reefer with a turtle
Uh,
tank as well.
yeah, like I said, the turtle tank was brought upon me by Sean right there. His name is Ethan said his name is Sean. I said okay, his name shall be Sean.
The turtle did?
No, yeah, my son
Oh, okay, your son.
named him Sean.
Okay,
Um,
this is
so
Sean.
yeah,
Let's take
I
him
don't.
home.
I mean, I love freshwater tanks, and I'd like to get more into it because I think that I really like the combination. I was actually talking to someone in the UK today. It's actually I do love vivarium setups. I love
Mhm.
living walls, plants, and water, and plants and fish, and all that stuff together in one in one type of environment. I think is really cool. But then there's just something about reefing is like almost it's more like a zen activity. It requires so much patience, and um, there's so much heartbreak and struggle and reward, and just and so much to see and learn, and it's just I don't know. It's definitely a lifelong passion for me at this point.
And you're always learning. Like you're never gonna know it all. Like I feel like I've freaking know nothing, and I've been in this years and years and years, right? So you are always learning. It's a never ending thing, which I think is what's you can't really master it. You can be successful, but you're never fully mastered. And I think that's what sucks so many people into it.
And I think we've talked about this before as well, but it's amazing. Like, and that's just it. As you think, just when you think you've got it sussed, and
Mm-hmm.
it's always most trying when you set up a new tank and you realize that it's not going the way you thought it was going to go. And then you're right back where you started. You're learning again.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning new challenges and new things to overcome. So
Yeah,
it's pretty true.
it is so true. And you're like everything's doing wonderful. All of a sudden, boom, one day it's a bunch of stuff like RTNs. You're like, what the? And then it's this whole new rabbit hole of like, hey, what I do wrong? What are you digging into? And there's just so many rabbit holes. Okay, Vermont John, on Jay's future SPS dominant tank, what is the flow he will be targeting? And what comments does he have about my setup? What about your setup? Okay, I guess first question. What are you going to do for flow in your SPS dominant fancy schmancy new, whatever the new Waterbox Pro Max model is? What's your plan?
Um, I, I don't know. I subscribe to I like the OG reefers with the big reef tanks. They typically run 30 to 35x, and I think actually if you go onto our website, the Coral Lab, back
Mm-hmm.
in the day when we were looking at people who are successful in commercial systems like Worldwide Corals and Reef Wholesale, they they were running in that same region as well
Mm-hmm.
in terms of water volume, just flow output versus water volume. Um, it's crazy to see in tanks which have a huge amount of flow that particularly hard coral will pretty much adapt to it. So as long as you're not stripping flesh off of the coral, it's crazy to see a really grown in
Yep.
tank where the coral actually grows around the immediate jet of water to kind of get as much as it possibly can. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, probably like just I'll aim for 30 to 35x in terms of in tank flow
Yep.
versus volume.
Nice. Okay. Vermont John. So he wants to know your thoughts on this. 150-gallon tank with 6 MP40s running only 3 at 80%. Well,
But what are
I
the
ha-
other three?
yeah, why not just run them all? I'd run them all at like 50, 60% personally. I like in my fry
Yeah,
tank, I have 4 MP40s along the back wall. They're only running at like 30% maybe, but they're all on the back wall shooting forward, so it's just kind of flow all throughout the tank. I personally think more fluid the merrier. You can always just turn it down a little bit, but it just creates floor everywhere in the tank. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean the main problem with too much flow is if you have a sand bed is moving the sand bed around.
Mm-hmm.
So at which point you'd want to just move the power heads up to the highest point you can before you suck air,
Yep.
and then run them as high as you can without sucking air and giving them the most run. But yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it is you can turn them down. You can run them at 10, 15% if you have them in a really awkward place where it would be problematic to run higher,
Yeah.
or you can put them in a more optimum place and run them a lot higher.
Mm-hmm. Now on my tank, I started them around 50%, 45 or 50%. Now I think I got up to about 75%. So as like the sand bed, everything kind of settles in, you can slowly just creep them up a little bit. So I've got those baby going pretty good. Josh in the box, my MP10 runs hot on pulse mode. Is this a concern in terms of pump lifespan of the pump? Pulse mode? I mean, they're made to do that, so I'd say no.
Yeah, I mean, it's a motor. You know, the harder you run it, the warmer it's going to get. And that's actually, it's less of the problem. I wouldn't say a problem. I mean, it's less of an advantage now to a certain degree with Vortex as it was back when we started making them. But that you just identified how much heat would normally be going into your tank that you aren't planning for if you were running a submersible pump.
That was a big deal back in the halide days, right? See, people running chillers to get out. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, overheating was the main problem, and obviously that's a much less of an issue now for reef keepers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's not just all of the equipment was less efficient, you know.
Yeah.
So in terms of how much energy it was consuming and consequently how much heat it was generating.
It's a trade-off because now I have to run my heaters more, but at the same time, I do not like wires in the tank. So having super clean, no wires in the display just looks good. Couldn't go back. Tainted. All right, so
very kind of you, Devin, to be so loving of products. I appreciate it.
I do. Like, I don't know. I'm totally a bit of an Ecotech fanboy. As you could tell by my controller board that everyone was like, did you like my wall of verses that I've slowly acquired and built up? And it's good. Love it.
Yeah. And that was that's Kyle's work, right? A custom acrylic that did that.
Yep, adaptive reef. So he is actually a standard controller board. It's all standard parts except for my little ReefDudes logo. I got him to make that for me. The rest is just the standard panels. But it's a nice, clean way to do it. You can mount all your stuff inside. I used the little AI Ecotech power brick things, mount all my power bricks on the outside, and just made it like super crisp, clean way to do it and organize it, which is nice.
I have he sent some stuff over that we ordered for trade shows, which never happened, which I'm really excited to show off the next time we're able to do a booth at a trade show.
What is it?
Where it's a water box tank where he actually took the doors and cut the doors out and made these backlit panels. Nice. You know, it's really sexy. But hopefully we'll be at RAP, you know, at VACNA next year.
I hope so. Yeah. I know. I miss shows. They're a lot of fun. They'll be good. DC Reefer. I want to purchase 5 more XR15 G4s to match my current 4 lights. Can I buy them used or refurbished directly from Ecotech? Do you sell old refurbished fixed stuff, or do you use it for warranty parts?
We currently don't. And this is something that comes up, and who knows, you know, in the future. The main reason is that typically when somebody sends something for warranty repair, if we can fix it for them, we fix it for them. Mm-hmm. If it's outside of warranty, then obviously we try to fix it as economically as possible for them as we possibly can. If a light comes back, which for instance, a light comes back, which is completely unsalvageable or unfixable, more often than not, it's because it has water damage or it is particularly old. And in that situation, we're just not comfortable putting it back out into the market.
That's fair.
But who knows, as time goes on, you know, if we start to see, say, more stuff coming in, or we end up doing an upgrade path or something where we take lights back from people, then that might be a possibility. In the meantime, I think the best bet is usually to get them on the secondary market. I do see that they're on sale. People are always changing or or having life events, which unfortunately either upgrading is probably actually the most realistic thing.
It is. Anytime a new version comes out, you always just wait like 4 months, and then people upgrade and they sell off all their prior gens always. So it definitely does. Except for me, I hoard mine and just
with the Radions in particular. Yeah, and with the Radions in particular, I mean, they Gen 1s grew coral.
Yep.
And each generation obviously is a little bit better optics, better lighting, more output, more spread, all of that each generation. But I mean, in terms of the Gen 4 is no less good today than it was when we launched it in reality. So
minus my bit of dino, my frag tank is looking mighty fine under those G4s. So it's true. Is it still possible to get LED replacement pucks for Gen 3s? Do they exist?
That's a good question. That's more of one for our service department. The Gen 3 would, it's probably, I don't know whether we're still making boards or not for Gen 3s. Typically, we keep increasing the life of each product that we make as we've grown and expanded over the years. Originally we were kind of 1 year after manufacturing done, right? That expanded some years back to kind of 2 years. We would try to support a product with parts. Mm-hmm. Now I don't remember whether it's 3 or 5 years in some cases, depending on what it is. And that's partly a mechanism of the fact that we're here, we want to support this stuff for people, and our capacity and ability to do that is increasing. I think Gen 3s are a good question. How old are they now?
Borderline. I don't know.
Years. So, I mean, since we stopped making them, so maybe, I mean, like that would be a question for our service department. I hate to throw this one to them, but I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so your torture testing of the Versas. So spray nozzles, which is something I never would have thought to using. Have you done any other crazy random test or like ideas of conventional things with them?
No, not. I mean, I haven't, but yeah, I mean, in house we. I mean, I think you came to visit a year and a half ago, long before we launched it, and I mean, you remember we have banks and banks of these things.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
All sorts of different conditions, but that's the thing is, funnily enough, and on tanks as well. And it is always an interesting, experience though, because you do this testing, and then when you get a product out of the field, people do different things with it, like with spray nozzles. Right. And maybe it will work well at high capacity, maybe it won't, but and I mean, credit where credit's due to our team is always improving the existing products. Usually just changes, or things that we learn as we go. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's basically running the stuff is where I provide feedback. I run it as a hobbyist because I am a hobbyist.
Yep.
And, that's what I do.
No, that's awesome.
They do this stuff like try to pump, sand through it and all that kind of stuff. I do it accidentally. Like,
that's great. You're like, well, I transferred my sand bed. It's still going. A little sand blasted, but good otherwise. Okay, completely random side topic. Odell was saying the turtle is a red ear. My daughter had one and it got as big as a dinner plate as long as they have a lot of room. There you go.
I believe it is the most common variety of turtle in the United States. The range is the entire. Yeah, I could be wrong about this, but I did look this up at one point, and I think this is true. If Tim Marks was here, he could definitely tell you for certain because he's the reptile guy. But
was he? Nice.
Yeah, and we've had some. We had some turtles that were fourth hand, I think, that were given to us a long time ago that have since. I don't know. I think they were handed on to someone else. Became fifth hand turtles.
Nice.
But yeah, they do get quite big, especially if you have a bigger tank, and that's why this guy is going back in the lake when the time comes.
Yep. Go back to the big pond. Okay, completely random. You're talking about reptiles. Now, fun fact, randomly, I know at the office you guys had a bunch of reptile systems, which is kind of interesting. You wouldn't think so for like an aquarium company, but I guess it's kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, if there's interest, I'm sure we can convince Tim to come on and talk about that.
Yeah, it could
Um,
be interesting.
it's a side topic, you know. I mean,
Is there?
there's some crossover with lighting and other type products that I mean, dosing pumps, for example, with misters. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there is obviously keeping animals is kind of keeping habitats. I think is a direction that our company is going in general.
Yep.
Whether you know we get there or what we do in the next few years, who knows? But
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
there's similarities between keeping
Yeah.
reptiles.
I was gonna ask if there's any like Ecotech like reptile specific products, but I guess it's all the same stuff. I mean, EK back in the day when I was in freshwater planted tanks, and I had built my own dosing pump. I didn't even know dosing pumps were a thing. I was like, I'm tired of doing this by hand, and I built one with like little pumps and Arduino and all this jazz. So there's like so much crossover. Like there probably was dosing pumps 10 years ago, but I didn't know about them, so I made my own. So, but there is so much crossover. It's just marketed differently, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's opportunities, but different markets have different needs as well, and that's the thing. I mean, one of the things that you definitely see, I think, in the aquarium industry is that trying to shoehorn products from one area into another don't typically work that well. You have to really think about what people need and want for a specific application.
Yep, makes sense.
And partly it's just understanding as well, because like you said, I mean, parasolic pumps have been around forever.
Yeah.
They just weren't used for aquarium dosing.
Yeah, medical,
So,
basically.
medical or industrial purposes.
Mm-hmm. David, can you purchase the little Versa parasolic tube retainer thingy separately? Can people acquire those somewhere?
Yeah. Again, contact the service department, and they'll point you in the right direction. Yeah, I mean, depending on also when it is, like, I think they may have some for you anyway. So definitely reach out to them.
Nice.
That's what you need.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, lots of love from Reefing with the love Ecotech, love Jay, love Vortex, love Radions, love Versals, love Neros, love AIs. All kinds of love from Reefing with the.
Well, most of that sounds right, except probably doesn't know me very well. So
Enough of that trash talk.
I hope I'm lovable.
Yeah. Okay, Jay, tell us about your tank and how you got into the hobby. How'd you get into it in the first place?
That sounds like a question where somebody knows the answer to it. I was actually a little kid the first time I had my first reef tank. Reef tank is massive exaggeration. Salt tank. So when I grew up, I lived in Tanzania. My parents worked at international schools. One year, my dad, in our container of stuff that came out, brought a 29-gallon with an under gravel filter, and we only lived a few minutes from the Indian Ocean. So we would go down, fill a 50-gallon drum with water, and bring back buckets of sand, and then we would go to the rock pools and catch fish, mostly things like damsels, and a couple lionfish, batfish, actually.
Oh yeah.
And you bring it back, and obviously now knowing a lot more about reef aquariums, it makes total sense why after about 6 months or so was usually when the last one of them would expire. And then at which point we would drain the whole thing and start it over again, basically, because obviously none of that equipment was really capable. I think filtration, other than the under gravel aspect, was a box with cotton wool in it.
Yep.
It served as like feed filter media, but yeah. So I always thought, oh yeah, saltwater tanks. I know about that, you know. And then after college, Tim Marks and Patrick Gleason were actually we were in the same fraternity together, and they had this company started with the MP40, and I joined on with them to help out with sales, and then I realized that I didn't know anything about saltwater aquariums.
Your tide pool scavenging didn't
translate well.
You're like, I've kept those. I've cleared out a bunch of tide pools in my young days. On the African plains by the ocean.
But yeah, then
That's,
when it became apparent you could keep coral and anemones, you could actually grow coral. It was pretty eye opening, amazing.
that's pretty cool. So when you started joining with them, did you restart and set up a reef tank again and dive back in?
Yeah, so we had tanks in the office, and I mean, and funnily enough, like even when we started, um, this I think I started with them around 2007, 2008 part
Mhm.
time. I mean, the level of equipment on compared to what's available now, 10 years later, 10 plus years later, is just it's not even close either. Um,
Mhm.
it was I think we had a top of the line Elos tank, which had a pendant metal halide. It actually
Mhm.
looked quite nice, the whole setup on the stand. It was a 40 gallon. We had a couple of those around the office, and
Mhm.
um, Patrick actually had a really good Montipora garden growing. I think he was using a cow closet reactor to dose it, and so I went and got I got a couple of anemones and clownfish and stuff and put them in a tank and started down that road, and it was all starting to look quite good. Um, this was my first failure in the reef hobby, by the way. That's what we're leading into here. It was looking quite good, and my wife, who was I think my fiance at the time, we were going to tailgates, and it was by the office. So I was like, let's I want to show you my tank, right? And and as we approached the building, the smell was just
Oh no.
incredible, like absolutely incredible. I'm like, what is that smell? Is that the dumpster? Like they need to really pick up the dumpster. You open the door and the smell is like now twice as bad. And as we go,
Yikes.
it just gets worse and worse and worse until obviously we get into this. Our original building was very small, and we get into the back office, which is where the tank was, and it was like you could cut the smell with a knife. It was so pungent, and
Really? Oof.
the foam guard had come off the MP20, and the anemone had moved into the MP20.
Ah,
This
dang.
happened Friday, and now it was Sunday, I think, and it was just it was terrible.
Yeah, that's no
So,
good.
but
MP20.
MP20.
I forgot that was even a thing. So we got 10 and 40 now. So what happened to the 20? It was just too close of a middle ground.
Yeah, well, the 20 was actually the same as an MP40, but it was not wirelessly controllable, and it had less output.
Okay.
And because of that, it was less. The drivers were less expensive to manufacture, so we were able to sell it at a lower price for people who didn't care about
Hmm.
wireless controllability.
Yep.
Then when the MP10 came out, that really took that place. So
Yep. Nice.
that's where that went.
Huh, crazy. I totally forgot about that. Okay, random Ecotech question. Does Ecotech Marine do extension of wires if you send them your MP? Is that a thing? Is it a service? A custom?
That's one that I don't know. Which there are some extension cables for certain products.
Mm-hmm.
They are manufactured. They're made. So we don't. I don't think we do it customly. I could be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, that's something through
Contact
that
service
service.
support. Bribe them for
Lots
a pretty extension cable.
to get lots of angry calls tomorrow.
Yeah. Why do we get so many calls today?
Did you tell somebody that?
We could do this? No.
Yeah,
Awesome. Nero 7 coming soon. How many Neros do you need? Probably. I don't know.
the only thing that I'm aware of, the only thing in terms of products that I could talk about being on the horizon would be the freshwater versions of basically the same products to a large degree that we had with the
Yep.
Gen 4 on the Gen 5 line. So
Okay.
that's in
Just
a
the
couple
warmer
months.
white
And
fixture.
if there's more stuff coming out, bonus to everybody, but I can't discuss it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Okay, now a random question. How much does like the freshwater lights compare to, I guess, sales wise? Like, are they for you guys, for Ecotech, is freshwater as big and popular as saltwater, or is saltwater kind of like the main baby?
No, I mean saltwater is obviously our main business. I mean that's what we design the products around.
Yep.
Freshwater primes are very popular actually,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, freshwater radions are very popular with installation companies because they appreciate the fact that they are very reliable and very versatile in terms of how you can use them.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of larger freshwater planet setups and things like that, yeah, they are quite popular and are used a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
But that aspect of our business compared to saltwater, at least at the moment, it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not a terribly significant segment.
Yeah. Because I didn't even know what AI or Ecotech back in my freshwater days, but looking back, like they're way sexier, sleeker lights than like the big freaking chonky things that I used to use. So wish I knew it about it back then. So I was just curious.
Yeah, I think there's a couple on Ecotech where well, so on the AI side, I should
Mm-hmm.
say, Aquaflora in Germany, which is
Yep.
a large planet tech company and um, does a lot in terms of growing, selling, and
Mm-hmm.
installation.
Yep. I've heard of those ones for sure.
They have heavily used stuff. Yeah, if you've ever been to Interzoo, they have a massive booth with absolutely mind-blowing displays. They're big fans of that product line.
Nice.
And there are a couple UK vendors as well that use them almost exclusively, use the Ecotech ones almost exclusively, actually,
Nice.
on their installs. So yeah, I mean, there's a fair amount. If you go and actually, if you look on the internet, in particular, if you look at like more architectural type installations, like bigger setups and
Mm-hmm.
big aquariums, you'll see them quite a lot there.
Nice. Awesome.
I want to say Bloomberg actually has a bunch of them.
Oh, nice.
Bloomberg will be.
Yeah. So those of you who don't know, Interzoo is like a massive, massive pet show in Germany. I think it's Germany, right?
Yep.
Need to make it there one day. It looks extremely.
One is June.
Next year?
Whether that goes off or not, yeah, I don't know whether it's going to go. Because this past year was canceled. It should have been 2020, and I think it's rescheduled for 2021. But
yep.
Yeah, if you ever want to travel for the hobby, like going to Interzoo is a pretty impressive experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's on the to-do list to be. I just seen photos of it there, and it's just like crazy how big the displays are in the booths, and it's just like everything's like you go to a show and it's like 5 times over the top for every booth. Like it's crazy. Looks pretty cool.
It's also fun because obviously aquatics is only a part of it, so all the aquatic things are there. But it's like I have a Labrador Retriever, and it's great to go and just walk through all these huge halls of dog and cat stuff and find all these new innovative just to entertain your puppy or as the case may be, know, on whatever it happens to be. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible just the scope of the pet industry and the German, for whatever reason, most of the major shows in all industries are in Germany, worldwide shows, probably because it's geographically kind of centrally located for everyone. So
nice. Well, I heard rumors that it was generally in the past in October at Oktoberfest. I feel like that's part of the draw. Be dangerous in Germany.
Yeah, Oktoberfest is right after it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Would a freshwater light be good for a refugium? Actually, that's a good question. For Chato, like an AI freshwater versus an AI prime. Is there any big advantage of one or the other? Both do the job? I know the prime fuge works really well because I have one and it grows Chato like crazy. But
yeah, I mean they will. A freshwater prime will grow. I mean, a freshwater light will grow Chato, but so will a marine light.
Yeah, most lights will.
Right. You probably want to move it more to the warmer end of the spectrum profile. Like if you're using marine light, use the freshwater profile. If you're using freshwater light, you're pretty much fine. refugium light is a horticulture fixture. So that's basically just the wavelengths which the
That are
plants
usable.
use. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
basically,
it will work.
It'll work and it'll grow, but the one on the specific spectrum will just grow a bit better, a little more targeted. You get a little more foot of the par because you're targeting the right spectrums for growth, I guess.
I don't know much about like the photosynthetic characteristics and whatnot of Shado, but it seems like the more energy and the more nutrients you give it, the faster it grows.
Yeah.
Which is true of all terrestrial plants, obviously, but it's generally true of most plants that the more light and more nutrients, the faster and bigger the plants grow. It's almost unilateral plant thing.
Yep. Very, very, very true. Okay. So a couple questions that came up earlier for your new tank, because you're going to do mainly SPS dominate, it sounds like. Is there any favorite acros or favorite corals that are going in there? And any other plans for that kind of setup or build?
That's a really good question. I haven't really given a whole lot of thought to that yet. It's certainly, I think I'll probably go handpick them and I'll actually try to look at how they look in terms of their structure, their morphology, as well as colors and whatnot. I mean, I'm talking a lot about something which I haven't done anything about yet, but it's interesting because definitely the shape of coral is very different, and if you plan for that ahead of time, you can do very interesting things. I've seen people do very interesting things about how and where. I forget who it was, but it certainly wasn't me who came up with this. But it's also just color placement, putting contrasting colored corals
that's big.
to each other. I think I would like to get medium speed growing corals as well, which is fairly easy to figure out, once you look in somebody else's tank as well as your own kind of experience. I'm not a huge fan of the acros that take forever to grow. Like, I think it's really cool, but there's also just this element of risk associated with, you waited like 12 months to get 2 inches of growth, and then something happens to that coral, it really hurts.
Yeah, fair.
So I like the stuff where you can notice some significant change on a month to month basis. But then growing coral, like once it gets going, it takes off and takes over your tank. So I know those ones, so I know which ones to stay away from.
Isn't it funny when you're new, you want stuff to grow, and then as you get into the hobby, if it grows too fast, you're like, oh, it's a weed. You want the happy medium, right? You want to grow, but not too quick, not too slow. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, I always think every good luck boras. They grow so fast that after a while, I'm usually breaking off large plates of it and throwing it, in the garbage, or giving it away to anyone who wants it. Nobody does because they also have it. It's really fast. So, yeah.
Yeah, I purposely did not let myself put a single plating Monty into the new tank. I do have one nice grafted worldwide corals one, like the red and green one that grows together, that I'm tempted to put in there, but I don't know. Still in my frag tank. That's like the only one I'm considering. But all the normal ones, they just grow way too fast, and they just steal your valuable real estate. Although I have seen people take advantage of that and start mounting their acros on top of the plating Monty and let them grow and just use it as more like rock shell space. So
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a will, there's a way.
Solution.
Yeah, exactly. I grow dragon's tongues under slightly blue. Isn't dragon tongue like LPS, like the big long thing, I think? Yeah. Are there any plans to update Mobius to get it to work with reliability? Actually, this has been working pretty darn well for me lately. I know a couple earlier versions, the odd time I had to reboot stuff, but lately it's been working really well.
Yeah, and that's basically where we're at with it. There's some issues which people in the community aren't going to see because of this. Like, it's largely manifest in very large systems. So that's being worked on. And then other than that, in terms of smaller systems, it's very important, if you are having issues, to contact service so that you're made a priority, and then also submit those bug reports, because we're kind of, talking to the engineers about it, we are actually at the stage where it's finding and eliminating people's particular issues that may or may not be
common, just random outliers.
Random outliers, and I don't want to say okay, everything's a random outlier. No, not at all. Obviously, there's a continual progression to improving it, but there is always going to be cases. I mean, we went through this when we launched DSL years ago, where it was like, that one actually was worse because of the Wi-Fi aspect to it. When we ran the one I always tell people about was Canada. We had this weird set of problems that was related only to Canada.
Really?
And it was a couple of the Canadian internet service providers just had different firewall protocols or something along those lines, and they would not allow a connection, a web connection through their routers through the Reef link, basically.
Really?
And it took a while to even figure out what was going on, because it was not something that had been seen anywhere else. So,
that's so bizarre.
I can only apologize to people who are having issues and, say we are committed, obviously, to fixing it, because we are committed to fixing it. But, you have to be patient with us. Again, it sucks. Very sorry that that's the case, but don't feel bad about reaching out to us to try and get it fixed and demand that we fix it.
Yeah, the customer service guys are awesome. So they've had lots of shout outs in the chat today. And the couple times I've actually contacted them about questions, they've been like responsive and they've been awesome to work with. So you guys definitely do well in that department.
I don't encourage our user base to do this, but every once in a while I do audit them and pretend to be a user, like a user of the product with some really obscure problem. And yeah, I'm actually always impressed by our own customer service, how fast they are to respond or how easy it is to get somebody on chat or on the phone. And actually how tolerant they are of the nonsense that I put them through is also not knowing that it's me. Of course, once they know it's me, they get really mad. But
is there any good stories that you want to share?
No, I don't want to encourage anyone to bother our customer service people unnecessarily.
That's fair. That's fair.
Don't hate me.
Alan Brown, any plans for something smaller than MP10, like an MP0 would be cool for a nano tank, something to toss in the sump?
Yeah, the Nero.
Yeah, the Nero 3.
I don't want to promote our other brand, but I'm kidding. Yeah, the Nero 3 is smaller than the MP10.
I have a Nero 3 in my frag tank sump to mix up where all my kalkwater and all my stuff drips in to make sure it mixes really quickly. It's like perfect for a tiny area. So yeah,
it's so small and you can turn it down to nothing. So
yeah, or
run it at 2,000 gallons an hour. So for anything,
which is impressive for how tiny it is. Yeah. Okay,
I think it's 2,000. Am I saying that? Yeah, I think it's 2,000 gallons an hour. Right?
Yeah, I think so. So okay,
look it up on the website.
The tank I was going to do this on, I gave it away to a buddy, so it's not going to happen now. But I think it'd be really cool for someone to do this. And take a nano all-in-one tank, and instead of a return pump, drill a little hole in the back and poke the Nero 3 through it. So you just the tip of it's poking through, and use that as kind of like your return pump in a way. And a nano tank, there'd be nothing in there. You get tons of flow. I think that'd be a wicked way to do it. Yeah. Think about that. Like, so it'd work as your return pump, but as like a Nero. So you could have wicked flow and completely stealthy, nothing visible. I think that'd be amazing. So unfortunately, I gave away my nano. I was going to build this on to my buddy. So someone should do it. I think that'd be amazing. Pro tip. Really cool. Someone's got to do it.
Send your picture to Devin. ReefDudes on Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah, I want pictures if someone does it. I have Tier No 3s and MP10 my 45. Love them. Nice. Solid combination. All right, Jay. I've stolen you for an hour. I won't steal you all night because I know you got the kids running around back there. But
I was going to say I have the headphones on, so I can't hear, but I felt the vibration. So I know that upstairs the natives are getting restless.
They're ready to jump you any minute. I'm just going to see them fly through the green screen. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our random reef chat today. Jay, as always, thank you for joining me. It's been a while since I've lured you onto the live stream. It was a good one.
Always a pleasure, Devin. Always a pleasure.
Excellent. All right, guys. Hopefully
Thanks to
you.
everyone who watched too.
Yep, definitely. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, hit that thumbs up. Jay, thank you, and thank you everyone in the chat. And I'll see you guys on next week's live stream.